Oh yeah, good morning everybody. Here we are live. It is Wednesday morning. It's chilly, it's cold as all hell. So, we've got Simpiwe sitting in the studio in Joburg, and we've got an amazing guest this morning. We've got Lebo Lion, who is with us this morning. She is a voice of marketing in South Africa, the voice of marketing, if you ask me. She's an author. She is one of the 40 under 40 business icons for 2020 and a podcaster. She's also a speaker. She has been a Prism Awards judge. And it's a great pleasure to have you with us this morning, Lebo. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Gareth?
Yeah, we're good. We're very good. And apart from being a little bit cold and a little bit early, which we are used to, we don't love it, but we're used to it. Otherwise, everything's good. What's
Great.
news with you? Did I get the intro right there? Are you happy with that intro?
You did. So many people mess it up, especially in the marketing industry, because their voices tremble a little bit when they say she's the voice of marketing.
Yeah, well, I mean, so give everybody just a little bit of background there, because I mean, great claims require great evidence, they always say, but yeah, people need to know this stuff. I mean, you've got an impressive list of accomplishments, but explain how you got into marketing and what you've been doing over the years.
You know what? Actually, the Lebo Lion brand is a social experiment. When I was 26, I found myself with a little bit of money in my bank account, and I was trying to find, literally. And I just
good.
No, it's not weird. So I used to have a tech company, right? And we found ourselves in rooms where we got various opportunities. The company didn't work out, but we did leave with a little bit of money because we sold the company to people. So I found myself with quite a bit of money, and I didn't know what to do with my time. So I thought to myself, what can I do that would interest me, that is, I think, forward-leaning in terms of the trends that are happening in the marketing industry? And one of the things I thought about was building a personal brand.
Cool.
And I thought to myself, whose personal brand do I build? Why should I build it? Let me start with my own, right? Let me see if I really know how to do this. And so the Lebo Lion brand was born, and I wanted to see how far I could take it, if I could really do it, or if I really wasn't that kind of person. And it turns out that I am. And I think that's why so many people are upset about me calling myself the voice of marketing, because I don't come from industry. I've never worked in the marketing industry formally in South Africa. So I'm just this newbie disrupting things, and nobody can trace me, essentially. Yeah.
You know why I love that is because there isn't really like a marketing how-to guide, and people who claim they're in marketing are sometimes some of the worst performing people in the boardroom. The marketing people are always like your lowest hanging fruit. They always put people in there who they think, well, no, but I'm talking about this because media goes hand in hand with marketing. So I'm not saying that that I'm any better. I'm marketing. It's a tough thing because sometimes you just strike it lucky and you come up with a really great idea or a concept or a brand or a campaign even. And sometimes you're just kind of paddling along. And I've seen so many people in marketing who get away with just paddling along.
I agree with you. I mean, on my podcast, I always talk about, and this is a very controversial statement, I guess, but I feel that a lot of marketers in South Africa are glorified event planners. Right. Yeah. So when you think about a marketing company or agency and you look at their work, all they've done is just plan events. Yep. And when you look at global marketing industry, in the States and in the UK, people are growth hacking. People are integrating tech into their strategies. They're not out there planning parties all day and calling themselves marketers. So it's frustrating for me.
I see why people don't like you. You be telling the truth. I see now, girl.
I would always rather talk to someone who people don't like and find out why than talk to someone who everybody says nice things about. You find out that they only say nice things about them because they've got personality about as deep as that.
Yep, it's nice. It's easy to like someone who doesn't challenge you, right? Who doesn't.
Correct.
encourage you to be better or to do different. So
I like this. Sanela says you did well to choose the voice of marketing. Lucky you're not the voice of telemarketing, because that. All right. I brought this up the other day, and I'm going to now ask everybody for some assistance here. So I mentioned that Telcom have been calling me every day to try and upgrade me, change my package. You remember this, Simpi? We spoke about this
Yes.
2 weeks ago.
You're
And
still
I'm
going
now
through
losing
that.
it. Now they're calling twice a day. And yesterday afternoon, they called me while I was really busy with, I was in a meeting, and these bastards called me again. And now I think I need to punish them somehow. So I'm willing to take any and all suggestions. I'm definitely going to change my contract now, because this is enough. I want to find out, though, what should I do? Who should I talk to? Because I want them to know that it's not just me. There are probably hundreds of other customers now who, and I get it that these people are just trying to do their job. But if you call people unsolicited twice a day now, because it used to be once a day, now it's twice a day. What are those people going to do to get you to stop? There's this act, this poppy act, right? This poppy that we all signed up for, that the government has said it's going to protect our personal information. Clearly, I cannot get anybody who calls me to get my name off that list, and they're not listening to me. I've explained it nicely. Eventually, I've explained it in a much less nice way. Nobody's getting the message. What do I do?
Gareth, the first mistake you made was getting a Telcom account.
Yeah.
So let's start there. You were setting yourself up for disaster by getting a Telcom account. That's the first thing. And I think the second thing, and especially in South Africa, I mean, I don't even count the Poppy Act, because I feel like a lot of the laws that we create in this country, especially regarding tech and consumer rights, are never really enforced in a meaningful way. Right. So they have it just to say, if you are in trouble, or if you don't like something, or you need our help, this is the act we have, this is what you can do, but they never really enforce it. So the best thing you can do as a consumer who doesn't want to be ignored is just ignore them. Literally.
Really?
There's literally nothing else you can really do.
I was gonna say
Unless
tweet
you
about
wanna
it, Gareth.
Tweet about it. And he's
Yeah.
gonna give them relevance. He's gonna make Telcom even more relevant if he's going to tweet about it. What's the point?
People are going to be mad, and the Twitter mob starts. They start trending for the wrong reasons.
I'm not going to whip up a mob. That's not anything I've done before.
No, it's the Twitter mob. It doesn't happen online, I mean, in real life, but online, everyone's mad. Yeah. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, and they share their experiences on. They're like, me too. I can't believe Gareth Cliff is going through this. Let me tell you what I went through. And then, before you know it, 50,000 people are just like, yeah, Telcom is a scam. And they're like, okay, sorry guys, we will change our ways. We won't call anymore. And then hopefully they change.
I was thinking, because it'll be easier for me to get hold of the CEO than anyone else will, because I can probably get hold of him and say to him, listen, do you know what your people are doing? Because I really do think that they are one of the, and you can't really call Telcom a parastatal, because they also have private ownership and all the rest. But I do believe it's one of those places where the private sector and government have done a good job of, they've put in very good fiber across the country. They have these cell packages, which I know you're right. Lebo, I'm not going to argue with you about Telcom's reputation, but they do deliver a mostly good service. And I don't believe that we should just throw the baby out of the bathwater here. I want to say to them, whether it's the CEO, the chief marketing officer, whoever, I'm like, guys, get your call center to stop doing this, because they're going to turn customers who don't hate you into customers who hate you, or even worse, non-customers who hate you. You don't think it's worth trying that? It's worth it. Like, I'm going to pick up the phone today, and I'm going to phone whoever I can there and try to get someone to listen. I just think that they are messing up on an obvious winner for themselves here by just staying away from people, not calling them twice a day.
Gareth, you're the first person I've met who says Telcom has good customer service. My experience of Telcom seriously is walking into the store. This has happened 5 times. I kid you not. Okay. I've walked into a Telcom store and I've seen somebody screaming, shouting, throwing things around, asking for help for something that they haven't been assisted with for months. Right. That's literally my experience of Telcom. I used to be a Telcom customer, and I literally would find myself calling them at least 3 to 4 times a week, because whatever they were giving me wasn't really working the way it's supposed to. Or like you find that the data finishes faster than it's supposed to, whatever the case may be. And I think when I left Telcom, I lost 5 kilograms because I wasn't as stressed as I used to be. It was not it.
You sold me, and I'm not going to go on making my problem everyone else's, but I will make a decision today about my course of action. Thank you for your input. Simpiwe, what do you think before we close this off?
And I agree, because clearly this is something that they do. I'm glad that I'm not a Telcom client or customer. So listening to you guys, even in the future, I don't think I'll ever be one, because now, we need to, now that we know better, we need to do better. So Gareth, do the things to be done and leave them alone. Leave this abusive relationship that's not working out. So it's time to go.
All right. I've got to refer to something that Lebo threw into the notes for this morning, which I'm really interested in talking about. And I think everybody's going to like this too. So they have just come out with some stats around lying, which I think is fascinating. So according to a survey that's just been conducted, women lie around 11 times a day. Men lie about 58 times a day.
What?
Now, first of all, I question the study because I've met women, and I actually know some women, and I don't know that is true. So I'm going to say right up front, this is one study which says that women lie 11 times a day and men 58 times a day. I've seen studies that numbers are inverted.
Really?
Either way, and we're not going to get into this yet. We can talk about that in a second. But you've got a few questions here, Lebo, right?
Yeah. My first one is, why lie? You could just keep quiet, but why do men choose to lie? It doesn't make sense to me.
So keeping quiet is not something that women are good at? Like, have you ever argued with one? Again, I'm going to say... All right, I understand. Look, when it comes to relationships, I'm pretty sure that men lie more than women.
Yeah,
I think that's probably a fair cop. So, okay, I'm wondering what kind of lies though, because that they've done all kinds of evolutionary biology and social anthropology around this. They've discovered that humans who do not lie at all. There are a few of these people. I don't know where. I don't know how they've survived. I don't know how they've made it. But humans who don't lie at all, or who lie very little, very seldom make it in the world. Like, they're very seldom hugely successful, because it requires you, as a part of being alive and being around people, sometimes you're required to tell lies. Now, I think there is a huge difference between a lie that does no damage and doesn't hurt someone. Like, for example, your girlfriend says to you, "Does my bum look big in this?" Or, "What do you think of my new hairstyle?" You say, "Oh, I love your new hairstyle, and of course your bum doesn't look big in that." Now, it may occur to you that it is the truth to say, maybe it's the genes. The moment you even think about that, you're up shit creek. You haven't got a paddle. It's worth your while. It's worth your while to lie about those things, because first of all, there is no victim of the lie, right? No one is going to get hurt. Of course, purists will say, "Oh, no, but you need to give honest feedback." But honestly, really, do you seriously need to tell someone the answer to that question? All it's going to lead to is pain. And then you get dangerous lies. You get lies like, "Have you been cheating on me? Where is the money in this account? Why is the car not in the garage anymore?" Those kinds of questions deserve honest answers, because obviously there's a spiral of stuff that's going to come out of each of those if you lie, that is going to be very, very hard to figure out and to put together again after you've broken it. So don't you think, Lebo, that there is a time where people have to lie? And they do say in these surveys, and in a lot of the scientific literature, that the human beings who've lied to get out of a situation rather than have gone straight to conflict have sometimes saved themselves and perhaps their whole tribe and perhaps their whole civilization. If we think about the Cold War and and how maybe if Kennedy and Khrushchev had been like a little bit more honest with each other, we may have ended up in a nuclear war. Maybe if they'd been more dishonest with each other, you could argue that we would have ended up in a nuclear war. I don't know, but sometimes a lie can go a long way to saving lives and to hurting less people.
I mean, you've taken it to a deep place, Gareth. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. As a marketer, I think part of our job is knowing when to omit some evidence and how much evidence to share, because you can't just propose something to a potential customer and tell them everything, You can't say, yes, our product works, but it has these kinds of malfunctions. We will only show you the good parts and maybe a few of the technical issues we have that you might be okay living with. So
Sure.
I think that the world does operate in a system where you do omit certain things if you want people to buy into what you have to sell them, or if you want to even form relationships. If you're just going to be blatantly honest every single time, you'll just be hated by everyone. Nothing's going to work or move forward. So I think part of buy-in, doesn't matter where you are in politics, in law, in marketing, whatever, is in knowing what parts of the truth to tell. Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right when it comes to marketing. When it comes to telling a lie to millions and millions of potential customers, then you are asking for trouble if you lie. Because you're going to be found out, and it's going to affect the credibility and the authenticity of your brand in ways that you probably can never fix.
Yeah.
Right. So if you claim this pill will cure any headache, I mean, that's marketing spiel. Nobody really believes that. But if you say,
I think people believe it. I think some people actually believe it.
And then they don't lose the weight, and then they're mad.
No, but they don't get mad at the product because there's too much evidence backing that the product works. So they get mad at themselves. And that's why products like Herbalife or brands like Herbalife are so successful, right? Because they work on the customer psyche. So when you fail, you feel like, but a million other people succeeded. What's wrong with me? You don't say Herbalife doesn't work. You say, I don't work. I'm not good enough. And that's what marketers do. We play into the psychology of people. So that at the end of the day, they don't blame our brands, but they blame themselves for how they participated in the experience.
That's fair. And Togozo says, you have to lie in a relationship. This is his line. I'm not going to put words in his mouth. He says men have to lie in relationships. It's important for the relationship.
Can't we have a balance?
Well, okay, so what's the balance, Simpiwe?
What if we're going with I ask you, do I look fat in these jeans? The balance, would it not be, well, I don't think these jeans are particularly the most flattering. Like, is that not the balance? Or are we still treading on?
Are you insane? Are you insane? Do you want nuclear war?
Okay, so clearly there's no balance. There's no way of, speaking the truth, but just, not being as brutal and as harsh.
Well, you could be as brutal as DK, who says a friend's wife asked if her new jeans made her bum big. No, it's all the chocolates that you eat. You replied.
Oh my God.
He's in the dog box for a week.
But guys, are we saying that we want to be lied to as people? Is this what we're saying?
I don't know. But because isn't it different if I ask you? So if I ask you, do I look fat in these jeans? And you're honest with me, then I can't really be mad at that. Opposed to Gareth just saying, yeah, Cynthia, today you look fat. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, say that again. Is that not a line?
This is again where women and men differ. And I can't believe you're the woman asking that question. And I'm trying to read into the ether because in truth, men, we don't always understand what we're meant to do in those situations. But if for example you've had a haircut, right? You got a new, or you got a new kind of you got new nail polish or something, and I don't notice it. I don't even notice it.
Yeah,
I get shat on sometimes. I'm like, how am I meant to remember that you had clear nail varnish yesterday, and today you've got bright red? How am I meant to remember that?
It's so obvious, Gareth. It's just so obvious in your face.
It's so obvious, right?
But really, women notice that on women. Most men don't. And even unless you do something very dramatic with your hair, a lot of the time, guys not going to notice it. Like if you suddenly change your hair, and you've got like let's say you go from afro to like cheese cop, everybody's going to be like, gee, okay, well, that's a change. And it's if it looks great, they'll say, oh my God, that looks great. No one's going to go, oh, that looks horrible. Because they think you've done it and you wanted to do it. So you must like it. So therefore, it's more important for most people to be liked than to be honest. Don't you think that's true, Lebo?
I'm not sure. Actually, that's an interesting statement, because as I was listening to both you and Simpiwe, I was like, are we saying that people want to be, so they want their biases to be confirmed? They want their perspectives to be confirmed. And so they ask people questions they already know the answers to. And
Definitely.
Are we saying that women do it more than men? And that's why men have to lie more? Or are we saying that it depends on the situation?
Maybe, or maybe that's an excuse that men don't deserve to be able to make, because they might be making those lies. They might be lying in the workplace. They might be lying in it could be somewhere in politics. It could be other than the relationship.
Professional lies.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and is a professional lie better or worse than a relationship lie? Because surely if you're going to be honest with anybody, it might as well be the person you're closest to in your life. I don't know the answer, but these things, people have been toying with this and throwing it around and trying to figure it out for thousands of years. And one bad lie can ruin a relationship.
Correct.
If you're caught.
If you're caught, very good point.
If you're caught.
But I'll go back.
That's another dimension, right?
What I said just now, I do think a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people would rather hear things that they like than the truth. I really think that's absolutely true across the board for men and women. If you say to someone looks like absolute shit because they had a big night last night, they've got a puzza face and they're hungover and they look terrible, and they are, they're wearing like shitty clothes and they just haven't made any effort and they're a bit of a mess, and they walk into the room and you're like, whew, you get a fright, and they can see, and you're not going to go, oh, you look horrible, unless it's a really good friend of yours and you can laugh at each other and they know it doesn't come from a mean place. Like, you're not trying to bring them down. You're just trying to, like, what the hell did you get up to last night? Find out what they did. Don't know.
Well, guys, maybe it's in how we express the truth, right? Because if I walk into a room and you just say, ugh, I'm going to be upset because that's an extreme reaction to what I look like, right? But if you say to me, look, today's not your best day, but most of the time you look great.
Let's keep it moving.
I might be able to digest that truth a little bit better.
So are we saying? Now, so are we saying it's not what it's not what said, it's how you say it? Is that what plays a role? If that's I'm like, today is not your best day, girl, but you look good every other day.
Maybe because also it's about emotional intelligence, right? Some people just can't hear the truth. Like, it does not work for them.
Is it a lie if you go and like someone's picture, but you don't actually like their picture on Instagram? Is that a lie?
That's a big one. That's a big lie of all. Yes. Yes.
Because I sometimes will see someone and I think, ooh, you shouldn't have posted that, but I'll like it anyway because I have any business upsetting them.
You know what gets me with that, Gareth, is that there'll be a picture posted, especially by like an influencer or celebrity, right? And it's not the most flattering. And then you read the comments, they're like, yes, girl. Oh, you look hot. I can't believe you're my friend. Woo, bullshit, fire emojis. Yeah. And you look at it and you're like, nah, guys.
No.
Those can't be it.
That's dishonest. It's got to be, that's a lie, right?
I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I thought I was the only person who saw this. Because you go to Instagram and you're like, what are these pictures? Like, what's going on? But you read the comments, like you said, and people are like, oh my God, she looks so beautiful. This is amazing. And I'm like, but where? So I asked one of my friends who's like a very big influencer, and she's like, no, that's how it works if you want to be in the inner circle of the top tier influencers. Then you need to comment on their, basically, you have to comment on their posts all the time and people can see. It's all about visibility. So also how the algorithm works is the more you comment on accounts that have more followers than you and more high value, I don't know, people who follow that account, the more exposure you have to those people, the more visible you are to them, and the higher the likelihood that they're going to be familiar with you and follow you. So you're almost trying to hedge your bets so that you get more high value followers on your account, because that allows you to be more visible generally on Instagram and to position your account as a more high value account. So it's better for me if I say Kithi Bumikali and Boiti are following me versus just regular people are following me.
Yeah, which is such nonsense. I don't know that algorithm should be doing that. I think that's bullshit, because in the real world, if someone who you don't know keeps on talking about you, you're going to actually run a mile away from that person. You won't want to be their friend or follow them. You want to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Absolutely. The dynamics of like creepdom are very different on Instagram than they are in real life.
Here are some comments. So Dude 69 says, I lied in previous relationships to keep the peace. Lie, brothers. Women can't handle the truth.
Whoa. I have a question, Dude 69. Whoa. When you say I lied to keep the peace, how far are you stretching these lies? Because I think I can understand the gene thing, right? I can definitely understand. I don't want to be told that I've gained 5 kilograms in this relationship. I really don't. But how far are you taking it? If I'm asking you, how was your day? Are you lying about what happened in your day? Are you lying about where you at mentally or financially? Like, how far are you taking these lies now? Because I don't think that's healthy. I really don't.
It isn't. Michael says, at 25, I made a choice to be as honest as possible, to the point where it was, unless it was hurtful. To the point where unless it was hurtful, it would be constructive. The first 2 years, I lost 60% of my friends. That's honest. But life is so much easier. Well, yeah. I mean, if you can do it, obviously the point is you want to be as honest as possible, right? But there are some areas in the world where it just makes it easier if you don't tell the truth. And that sounds so counterintuitive. But I think people, there are places where you don't have to be, like the dog ate my homework. Is it worth telling? You're not going to say to the teacher, no, I got home, I played soccer in the garden for a little bit, I watched soap operas all afternoon, and I fell asleep. Are you really going to say that? Because you're going to get into so much more trouble than if you just go, my mom just lost her job, and my gran is staying with us, and there was a fire in the kitchen, and some of those stories, even though they're made up, might just save you a whole lot of pain and anguish.
Absolutely. I think you can also use the truth though as a power tool. So what I mean by that is a lot of us are already expecting people to lie to us. And I think that when somebody actually just answers truthfully, you almost gain a lot more respect for them, and you don't know what to say. You're just like, okay, so you did go to soccer and you fell asleep. There's nothing I can do to you. Move along, fix it next time. I've found that sometimes just telling the truth has actually helped me have better relationships with people and get more out of life, whether it's professionally or in personal spaces. It's worked for me. When someone says, do you like this? And I say, no, I don't. And they're like, okay, wow, but tell us why. And then I find myself getting into bigger rooms because I was the only one who wasn't afraid to say, actually, this no, it's a no.
I'm with you.
So I think a lot of us are afraid to be honest.
So Sanela wants to bring this to an end. Okay, enough. Let's settle this once and for all. A vote. Simpiwe, do you want us to tell you the genes make you look fat or not? Lebo, do you want us to tell you the genes make you look fat or not?
Simpiwe, are you going first?
I'll go first. Do tell me that the genes make me look fat, please. Ooh. But please be kind about it. Don't, I'm one of those people. Don't be like, yeah, you look fucking fat in those jeans, girl. You gotta lose weight. Don't be that person. You're gonna break my heart. Just be like, yeah, I don't think this is the most flattering look on you right now. Maybe we should buy a different cut, size. I think there's a way to finesse the truth, in my humble opinion. So finesse me, but tell me the truth.
Okay. All right. No, that's fair. All right. What do you say, Lebo?
Please don't finesse me. Tell me the truth exactly how it is. Because if I get 10 kilograms bigger because you kept quiet, we're both going to be in hell until I lose it. So just tell me the truth so I can fix it now when it's still okay. And yeah, I want the truth, the blatant, honest truth.
You can't handle the truth, as they say in the Good Man movie. I'm gonna throw this last comment in to wrap it up, because Freedom Fighter says, if you tell the truth, you never have to remember anything. And that's kind of what I go along with. And I'm glad Lebo brought this up. Whether those statistics are right or wrong, we will only know in our own personal lives through experience. There's no way to be sure of this. Maybe you are surrounded by liars and you never actually know what the truth is. But I have no idea. I have no idea whether that's true or not. All right, we got to look at some headlines this morning, and then we're going to get to Revix in a moment or two. So let's take a look at what's actually happening in the world this morning. There's quite a lot going down. News-wise, if we're looking at some of the big headlines in South Africa today, what do we got? Renowned South African economist Mike Schuessler died. We were talking about this just yesterday. You know, every week, Simpiwe and Dori are busy finding people for the Burning Platform, which is where we talk current affairs. And Mike Schuessler was actually on with us the middle of last year. So around this time last year. And he was great. He was on the show with Bulelani. And he's just terrific. I'm very sad to hear that he's gone. The CEO of the Road Freight Association, Gavin Kelly, where Schuessler worked as an economist, said on Tuesday morning he learned about the death from Schuessler's family. Kelly said in a statement that Schuessler was battling with his health. He said on March 14th in a tweet on an inflation graph that he was doing this as a service today, as he's still sick but getting back now, trying to beat cancer. And he put up an inflation chart, which was his last tweet. Our sincere condolences to Greta and his family. We will miss you, Mike, said Kelly. A great stalwart of the industry has fallen, and many people sending him tributes, especially people who were in business, people who paid attention to the economy. This guy was a real economist. He understood what made markets go up and down, what people were doing right and wrong in order to make money flow in their direction. And I think that we're going to be a poorer country for not having someone like Mike Schuessler to rely on for his wisdom. So there's the first story in the news this morning. The Cannes Film Festival is on. Lebo, do you care about this?
I do. I love Cannes. It's one of my favorite places in the world. And I've been there a couple of times to do some work and some networking. So I love it. I don't necessarily care about all the films that are there, I won't lie.
Sure.
But I do care about the people who go, because you meet a lot of cool tech people. You meet a lot of people in marketing who are just doing big things. The last time I went,
the advertising awards, which are obviously a very big deal, right?
Exactly. So you have that as well. The last time I went, I got to meet Scooter Braun, and he's awesome. So for me, I care, and I wish I was there.
Okay.
Scooter Braun, Scooter Braun's Justin Bieber's manager, among other things, right?
Yes, he is.
His story is quite incredible.
It is.
Okay. All right. Well, the reason I bring it up is because the 2022 Cannes Film Festival has all been about protests highlighting sexual and gender-based violence. There was a woman wearing nothing except the Ukraine flag painted onto her breasts, with like hands that looked like blood all over her legs. And, you know, there are people in the background wearing fancy dresses and walking past and just trying to ignore her. And she's screaming at the camera. Someone's running up to try and put a jacket on her. There are people with like smoke bombs. It's just unbelievable how this place has now become one of the focal points for protest, as opposed to, you know, just glamour and glitz and people having a fun time. And there are lots and lots of pictures. You can find them all online of people who are dressed up and looking fancy. The Daily Maverick covers this quite nicely if you want to go and check what they're saying about it. But there's a huge amount of protest involved here as well. This is probably one of those places that never used to get any protests, right? But now suddenly is getting a lot of them. I suppose people protest everywhere.
Well, I mean, protesters also need eyes, right? And people like to act like they care about what's happening in the world more than they do. And I
Yeah.
think that smart protesters have realized that going into the places where people who are privileged, people who make decisions where they have fun, where they network, where they do things, when you disrupt their comfort and make them uncomfortable, then something happens and something gets done. And I think that's why we're seeing so much more of that. I did see the video, and I don't know. I don't think it's landing the way that it should, if I'm being quite honest. Because
Yeah.
for me, what validates activism is collective action. So when you're doing it alone, it just kind of seems like you're a crazy person fighting for something that you only believe in and nobody else is vetting or backing or supporting. So I think it could have been done differently.
Right. Uh, Mark Ruffalo, who is the Hulk, you know him, he has joined 150 wealthy people who are saying that governments should tax them more. Now, I've never understood this. Like, if you're a wealthy person and you want government to tax you more, just give government more of your money. You don't have to go out there and make everybody else pay. What the hell business do you have getting involved in anyone else's money? Let's say, let's say he and Tom Cruise are both earning hundreds of millions of dollars for movies, and Tom doesn't want to pay the US government more than half of his money. Then Mark Ruffalo is well within his rights to go to the IRS, what do they call them? The Independent Revenue Service, right? In America, and say to them, here, have some more of my money. Why do they go and make a public spectacle of themselves and say this in public? It's just attention seeking. I don't believe a word of what he says. He went to the World Economic Forum, and anyone who goes there, I think, is a bad person. Just generally, I want to say that up front. He has said in an open letter called "In Tax We Trust" that while the world has gone through an immense amount of suffering in the last 2 years, we've actually seen our wealth rise during the pandemic. Yet few, if any of us, can honestly say that we pay our fair share in taxes. Now, this is not true. The rich in America pay way more than their fair share. The rich in America are actually responsible for paying more than 50% of the total tax in America. And by rich, they mean anyone who's earning over $1 or $2 million, I think it is, a year. They're paying the majority of the tax. So they call themselves the Patriotic Millionaires Group. And they've got a whole 150 of them. So, I mean, it's 150 people who are millionaires who want to pay more than what they're paying. Now, I've never met anyone in South Africa who goes, I want to give more of this hard-earned money of mine, whether they're rich or poor. I want to give more of this to the people who are going to absolutely steal it and misappropriate it. So this begs a lot of questions. What do you think of that?
Don't trust.
Yeah.
Absolutely do not trust. There's no person in this world, no matter how rich or poor they are, will be like, just take my money. That's, it's not a thing. Everybody wants to. Yes, everyone wants to keep money for themselves and wealth in their family, and the reason why we have Swiss accounts, they exist for a reason, is because no one wants to pay tax. No one actually wants to give away their hard-earned money. So I don't know what it is, but I don't trust you. I'm just like, raise eyebrows. Like, this is sus, the definition of sus, and I'm not about it.
What do you say, Lebo?
Well, my first question would be: is the government the best body to handle our money? Like,
no.
Are they really
the short
the
answer?
people
No.
who we should be giving our money to? Right. So that's the first question, firstly, and then the second one is, and it actually made me think of the whole Kylie Jenner saga when she said, or Forbes said she was self-made, and then everyone said no, she's not self-made. So if we put it in relation to taxes, is anyone really ever self-made? Or do we need an extensive tax structure that has a lot of money being put into it to help more people become self-made? Because the infrastructure that's paid for and maintained by our taxes is actually what allows people to be great and to make money and to thrive. So that's the question. I don't have the answer, but that is my question.
But I'd like to ask something as well with this. When they say they want to tax the wealthy more, are they also going to tax the big mega churches more, like these pastors that are making millions of money from offerings and like everything else besides being a celebrity? Like, are we holistically looking at like everyone who says that they are millionaires, trillionaires, billionaires? Are we looking at them in whatever industry and whatever they do to say, yeah, you're also going to get taxed as much, in as much as you're a man of God? Because that's also very important. Like, who's getting taxed? Who is
And,
actually getting taxed?
and I'm going to go back to my point. If you love paying tax so much, Mark Ruffalo, just
Hey.
give them more money. You can do that right now. You don't need new laws for everybody else. It's amazing to me how everybody seems so obsessed with everybody else's money, but they don't want anyone to touch their own. And here you got
Yeah,
Mark Ruffalo saying, take my own. Well, just give it. Nobody's stopping you. Or donate it to a charity. You know, there are plenty of good charities in the world that could do with your help. Just give away all your money, Mark Ruffalo, and start again. Do the next movie that you do with no money in the bank. Then we'll take you seriously.
Lol. I mean, I think with wealthy people as well, it's a sense of we want to maintain the levels, right? So I can't be poorer than the person who I know. We must all be on the same level. So if I have to pay a lot of tax, then you should too. So we all stay on that level. But
Okay,
if
that's a good
one
point.
person does it and then another one doesn't, and they become wealthier because they're saying, I don't want to pay more tax, then how fair is it? You know, I think that's how some people see it.
So Michael in the comments has said something I think is interesting here. You remember those kids at school who would say, "No, teacher, we need more homework." Everybody hated those kids. They exist. There are those kids who are like, we want more homework because they're trying to get the teacher to love them. They just want someone to say, "You're my favorite," and this is how they think they get it. So Mark Ruffalo, that's what we think of you. You're like that kid who asks for more homework. Go to hell. Basically, go to hell. All right. On
And
that note, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, and I just, you said something and it made me think about how does putting more resources into something make it better? Or is it about the people you're putting the resources into that determine how far that expenditure or whatever goes, you know?
That's a good point. You're
Yeah.
talking about efficiency as opposed to just throwing more money at it. I mean, we throw more
Yes.
money at our education system in this country proportionally than any other country in Africa, and yet we turn out the worst results. So throwing more money at that system is not going to make it better. It's just going to be a waste of more money.
Exactly.
And this is the other thing is like, I wonder how much of what people like Mark Ruffalo and others who are like, you know, they play socialists. They talk this game of like, I think socialism is a good system, but they're not moving to Venezuela. They're not moving to Cuba. They're not moving to North Korea. They don't really believe that. They live in the United States and they live in mansions and they have very good lives. Whether they've earned that money or not, I'm not debating. That's their money. I have nothing to say about it. But I wonder what this really is. Is it actually about making the world a better place, helping the poor, or is it just being resentful of people who have more than you?
It could be both. It could be both. I mean, what I've seen, you know, I work in the NGO space sometimes, and I find it a little bit frustrating because you'll find super wealthy people coming into spaces. They'll bring blankets or they'll bring whatever, sing for the children, dance around, take some pictures, and leave. And then they say that they're actually trying to help.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, do you really think that is help? Do you really think the way we're going to stop poverty in South Africa is by dancing for poor children and giving them blankets and a bit of soup? Or is it actually taking some time? And I used to do this in varsity because I had some time. I would literally go to Soweto 3 times a week and sit and tutor 10 children and help them. And we'd literally see their progress in school so that they could pass, so that they could do better. And I found that you don't actually need a lot of money to change people's lives, but you do need time. And wealthy people do not have the time and effort. Yeah.
You know what? If you put effort into something, you care about it. Full stop. So if it takes you 5 minutes to sign a check because you've got billions and billions in the bank, and you give that check away, but it only took you 5 minutes and a signature to do it,
yeah,
I don't think that's effort. It took you effort to earn the money, obviously, and you're giving an enormous amount of resource to whichever charity it is. But I do think what you're talking about is the real care. If you care about something, you'll put time and effort into it. So let's just wrap up with telling Mark Ruffalo, we don't care about you, dude. And like Simpiwe said already, suspicious as hell. All right, talking money though, let's turn our attention to Revix. We've got Brett on the line from Revix. Hey, Brett, nice to see you, man. How are you?
How's it, Gareth? How's the team? Yeah, good to see you guys.
Good. So, Brett, listen, let's level with each other here. It has not been a good couple of weeks since we last spoke to you guys, because really the price of Bitcoin's not looking so great. Ethereum's not looking so great. Solana is not looking so great. I noticed, though, I went on Revix yesterday, your Pax Gold is looking very strong. Other things, not so much. Is that your assessment too?
Yeah, so look, the assessment of the market in the last few weeks has actually been mainly driven by this Luna Terra stablecoin kind of collapse, right?
Yeah.
It kind of fed a whole bunch of scare and fear into the market. And I mean, we've seen the fear and greed index, which is like this indicator of how much fear there is in the market in Bitcoin, hit its second lowest point in history. So, I mean, there's mass amount of fear there. There's, as you said, Bitcoin's down, I think, 55% from its highs. I think some other altcoins are down 80 to 90% ranges. So, yeah, there's a lot of fear. But, I mean, there's that saying, when there's blood in the streets, buy, even if it's your own blood, right?
Right.
And we've kind of seen that kind of be true in crypto as well. When this fear and greed index does get below into these massive fear stages, below 15 on their like rating level from 1 to 100, and we're currently at 12. Last week we were at around 6. So when we get to those kind of levels, we've seen that they've been historically great buying opportunities. And I even went to go look and do a little analysis and just check, if I had to dollar cost average, which everyone loves doing into crypto, buying a portion every week, if I had to do that when this fear and greed index is really low and there's a lot of fear in the market, what actually happens to my strategy? And you actually outperform your normal buy and hold strategy or your normal dollar cost average strategy by over 70% in 4 years. So it's quite crazy to see that this like contrarian view, when there is fear, it seems to actually show you that it's kind of one of the best buying signals around at the moment.
All right, so that is clearly from your point of view, and you're not giving financial advice. Let's be 100% honest about that. But you are saying that this may be a buying opportunity. And I was thinking the same thing yesterday. I mean, it hasn't been an easy ride, but if you cashed out any time higher than, let's say, $35,000, you did well. Maybe now's the time to buy back in. I mean, you could be buying while it's cheap. What, $30,000 this morning?
Yeah, about 29ish this morning.
Okay.
I kind of think that too. I mean, as I said, when you see all the best investors in the world are contrarian investors, right? People that go against the grain. And we are seeing very much negative sentiment around crypto at the moment and around markets at the moment, realistically.
Right.
I think there's a macro backdrop that's kind of saying, Fed's going to hike rates. We're going into a recession. I mean, I kind of look at that and go, well, the Fed's never hiked rates into a recession pretty much in history. So it kind of errs on the side of maybe they actually pull back a bit. And then you kind of see these risk assets go.
And it's not just cryptocurrencies that have had a rough ride at the moment. Stocks are also down the toilet right now. And everybody's talking about, like, where do you put your money? Now, Pax Gold has performed very well. That's obviously a coin that tracks gold. Obviously, people hedge their bets in an economy like this with gold. But you guys have got a range of products. What kind of crypto investment would you think is the most risky at the moment? And which is the most conservative, if there is a crypto conservative?
Yeah. So first of all, I love the fact that a lot of people will look at crypto and be like, oh, this Ponzi scheme, it's down 50, 60%. I told you so. But then they'll happily go home and watch their Netflix account, which is a stock that's down about 85% year to date. So,
exactly.
I mean, it's like, where do you draw the line, really? But yeah, so from a risky perspective, look, I think your altcoins will take a longer time to bounce back. So not your high cap, not your Ethereums, but your lower down kind of will take probably a longer time to buy back. I would look, as you say, into like a gold kind of option or a Bitcoin option. So we do have a thing called an inflation like hedge product, which is called the Inflation Shield, which is partly Bitcoin and gold. And that's actually held up really well. I mean, in the last month, I think that thing's down about 1% or 2%, where if it's got Bitcoin and gold in it, Bitcoin's down about 40% in that month. So it's held up really well. And then also, as soon as risk assets start to come back alive, you've got that Bitcoin kind of kicker in there to catch a bottom, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, I look at kind of dollar cost averaging into your Bitcoins at these kind of levels. I think, the lowest it kind of goes from here is to your previous market cycle high, which is about 20,000, and you're already at 29. You're never going to catch bottoms. You're never going to catch bottoms in this game.
So with all this fear, where do you see it going from here? What do the people you talk to have to say about this? I mean, you guys speak to investors all over the world. You've got big corporate investors and funds, and then you've got individuals. What are people saying generally if you average it all out? Where is it going?
Yeah, so if we average it all out, I'm thinking a lot of people, obviously, as I said, are a bit worried about the macro outlook, right? But there is this of possibility that the Feds aren't going to hike as much as they say they are because they're going into recession. If that happens, risk assets kind of take off again. It's priced in that, if the Fed's going to 3% in rates, like that I don't see happening when they've already printed one negative growth this quarter. They print another one, they're going into recession, into a midterm, they need votes. Yeah. I kind of err on the side of they might be a little more dovish than you think. And if that does happen, I think a lot of people are looking and saying, well, there's that factor, and there's the factor that there's so much fear in this market that it's probably overdone. So we're looking to start to average in at these levels over the next few weeks and months and kind of seeing where it plays out. Look, we're not saying it's not going to stop at 28, but they're very happy to start averaging in from, your high 20s down to your low 20s. And not miss that all of a sudden, one announcement from the Fed and you've missed this massive bump up.
So just quickly, someone says in the comments here, which I thought was quite a good point, Bitcoin is more likely to recover than Netflix, to be honest. That's what Jake says.
I couldn't agree more. I mean,
Lebo's laughing as well. She thinks that's about right too, don't you?
I do.
I mean, have you seen Disney Plus lately? It's just come to South Africa.
Yeah. How's Disney's share price looking at the moment? Have you been looking at that at all?
I have not looked at that, unfortunately. Okay. But I'm sure at the pricing it's got for Disney Plus, I'm sure it's doing a lot better than Netflix.
Right.
And they've got a pretty great strategy in terms of their marketing strategy and how they're penetrating South Africa. It's pretty brilliant. So what they're doing is they've put fiber lines in different areas of the township. And they literally putting fiber into people's houses and then marketing all their different products and making it really easy for people to access Disney Plus content. So, they're almost onboarding their customer even before the customer gets in touch with the content. And they're really supporting the entire ecosystem. So they're not coming here to play. They're not coming to play.
That's clever.
Yeah.
So Brett, before we let you go, you want to tell us about any promos that are going on Revix at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, at the moment, we're just doing a classic Bitcoin fee-free. So we think that's, that's kind of the easiest way into crypto at the moment, and especially the safest probably way into crypto at the moment with the fear around. And we kind of like the idea of, dollar cost averaging while there's a lot of fear in the market. So we're giving a fee free on all purchases for Bitcoin from the 22nd of May to the 21st of June, actually.
Cool.
So quite nice long area for people to get a fee free way of getting into the market.
Excellent. No fees. Go in there if you haven't done it before. This may be a really good time to buy, for all you know. Brett Hope Robertson, very nice to see you, and give our regards to the rest of the team at Revix. Nice to have you on this morning.
Will do. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Brett. Yeah, there is no safe place to invest. That's why people do it. There's risk and there's reward. You can't have one without the other. But yeah, I liked what you had to say there, Lebo, about Disney Plus. I didn't go to the launch, but I've heard lots of people saying these guys have got a strategy that may just work very, very well in their favor.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
Nobody in this country understands probably more than DSTV, that it's not just people who have lots and lots of money in the bank who want good quality content. You could drive through the informal settlements in South Africa. You'll see satellite dishes. People want good content. They're prepared to pay for online stuff. They're prepared to pay for great movies, great TV shows, great podcasts, and they're not going to just give up on that stuff just because the price of it goes up. I do think, though, that among all of these products, we've eventually got to get to one that just aggregates all the stuff for us, because we can't have subscriptions.
No, we need subscription. I think competition is important, and it's a healthy part of thriving economy. So I think what you're seeing in South Africa and the African continent is there really are some very weak strategies, and companies aren't plowing into the communities that they want to be in. Instead, they just kind of taking the top tier of people, and everybody's serving one market. And so what Disney Plus is doing is saying, well, the people we want might not have access to this. So we're going to be part of the solution of creating a lived experience, an environment that facilitates them being able to consume our product, And I think more South African and African brands need to start doing that. Yes, these companies are coming in with stronger currencies, so it is a little bit easier for them to do this. But if you've got a good team and they're about building a legacy brand and they're thinking about future profits as well, then putting in a few fiber lines today should be a worthy investment. Instead of just saying we've got 1% of our population, LSM 7 to 10, they're the only ones who can afford anything. So they're the only ones who are going to create products for. So I think we need the competition.
All right.
But good question on that. Since you are a team subscription and we're seeing Netflix is seeing a decline in their numbers, and there's rumors that they might start bringing up ads. And my whole thing is, if I'm paying not to see ads, why are they going to be ads? What are your thoughts on that and how they're tackling this whole decline in their market?
So the interesting thing about ads, well, at least from my perspective, is I think people want to see ads. And I think for a long time, a lot of us have just complained about them because the ads haven't been what we want to see. So it's not that we don't want our experience to be interrupted with products that are being sold or anything new that's in the market. It's that the interruption actually sucks. So this is a great time for advertising agencies to think, how do we interrupt the experience in a way that's meaningful to the person who's viewing it? If I'm watching a movie and it's a chick flick, and I really love the clothes that the cast is wearing, then maybe the ads should be tailored to that experience. So do you like what Ruffalo is wearing in this movie? You can find it here. We're seeing a lot of companies that are starting to invest in VR and other tech solutions that are literally tailoring the kind of messaging that you're getting when you're watching something online, so that the ad is actually relevant to the content that you're consuming, so that you really want to consume that ad or the messaging that's coming through. There are some shows I know I've watched where I'm like, where can I find those shoes? Or where are these people? I'd love to travel to this place. And so I think if advertisers were a little bit smarter and they curated the experience in a meaningful way, people wouldn't find ads as an interruption. I think they'd actually enjoy it.
We're going to have to park that there, but there are lots of comments that agree with you and lots of comments that disagree with you, which we'll get to in the next little bit. We've got Lebo Lion with us this morning. We've got Simpiwe Mtetwa. We've got me, you, and we've got the whole crew. Stick around. There's a lot more coming. We're coming back straight after
this. This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
So in the UK, the most important the most important selling point is the reputation for quality. If the car has a reputation or perception from people that it's of a better quality in terms of the material and the build quality, then that's number one. Followed by styling, and then positive ownership experience as third, and then good value for money.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Jaco Voigt, who is the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Jaco decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic and is available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We are here. We are live. It is Wednesday morning. We've got Simpiwe and we've got Lebo and we've got me and you. Lebo, we watched you getting sun-kissed there as the sun came out.
Yeah. I recently moved into a new place. And
nice.
it's literally got like, I don't know how nice it is. It's an old apartment. So I'm in Lebo now. And literally like the one side is just windows.
Wow.
So when the sun comes in, it comes into the whole space.
Well, it'll stop you from sleeping late, that's for sure. All right, so we've got a lot of comments about what you said just now about ads, and I think we'll talk about that because clearly it's something that people feel very strongly about. But before we get to that, I just want to remind you that we have a series called Beyond Madness, where we investigate what it's like for people to deal with all kinds of psychiatric problems. We've got Professor Christopher Paul Szabo and a range of really interesting guests. Now, this week's episode may interest you. You ever walk into a room and wonder what you're doing there, forget where you've put things? And if this gets serious and you're doing this all the time, you may just have a condition which needs a psychiatrist, psychologist, might need some help. It might need some medication. You know what I'm talking about. It's not just a like harmless forgetfulness. It could be a serious problem. It could be that you're not remembering things. And in the latest episode of Beyond Madness, we investigate what it's like for people who are living with dementia. So Professor Chris Szabo will speak to a specialist psychiatrist called Dr. Ryan Fuller. He'll also speak to Bev Cohen, who run a support group for the families of people affected by dementia. You can listen to Beyond Madness wherever you get your podcasts, in proud association with Adcock Ingram OTC, or the sponsors of Brave. So go and take a listen to the new episode of Beyond Madness, really uncovering some pretty amazing and interesting things on those various shows. Go and take a look at them on whichever podcast server you are on, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything else. All right. So a few people have come in with what they want to say about this. Dogozo says, I do not want to see ads at all. Sean says, I want to rate the ads because some are really good. Parallel Parking says, everyone who went woke must now go broke, Netflix included. Carl says, do not use the phrase lived experience. When I hear that, I don't take anything else you say seriously. It does seem
Why
like
not?
Well, because that's become such a buzzword, and it's particularly when the politicians start using it as a way to explain away statistics or the reality of, you know, what actual research brings you, as opposed to someone's lived experience, which is their truth, which everybody's so up to here with, because it just means nothing. It means zero. It means you can change your mind about your lived experience on a minute by minute basis, and it doesn't have any validity in science, right?
Well, I don't think that everything that we do has to be so scientifically rigid, right? Because this is all about how people feel and perceive things. And as a marketer, that's my job. I have to understand that. So if my customer is saying, this is my lived experience, I can't say, well, that's bollocks. This is actually how things are. And that is the culture in a lot of countries and companies where they say, well, we don't care. You don't know what your lived experience is. We're going to tell you what you want.
Yeah,
we're going to tell you what to do.
But who else except you cares about your lived experience? I mean,
people who want to sell you things.
No. I don't think so. They, you know, the fact is, like, I don't really care how much you care about me. I need your product for X, Y, and Z reason. I think if, for example, you need an electric blanket, I don't want the company who makes electric blankets to care about my lived experience. Just make an electric blanket that isn't going to set me on fire, and I'm happy with that.
Well, okay, let's put it this way. What is your definition of lived experience? When you say lived experience, what do you mean?
I mean, I don't know the answer because the people who use that term, and I'm not one of them, have different answers. And that's the whole point, is that there's no way to zero in on anything useful. It's purely subjective. So I may say lived experience is my story I tell myself about myself, right? And I think that's a fairly safe definition, but it doesn't help because someone might be mentally ill. We just mentioned beyond madness. Someone might have no idea. You know, you get these rich people who feel sorry for themselves. Their lived experiences are, poor me. I don't have the Ferrari or the Lamborghini, but actually I got a couple of 100,000 rand available to them at any given time in their bank account. You get poor people whose lived experience is, I am poor, and yet I'm going to get there. I'm going to make it. My lived experience is, this is just a bump in the road. I don't have everything I want now, but I'm going to get there. So the lived experience is very different. It doesn't help us.
Well,
I think I agree with Carl.
For me, when I say lived experience, I mean literally, how am I living today? What does my life look like? So am I living in a shack? When I go out of that shack, do I encounter, I don't know, so these, or do I see kids playing? Are they playing with, medical waste, or are they playing with toy? What is happening in my everyday life? How am I living? How do things unfold?
But Lebo, the point is that we can't know everyone else's lived experience. We don't have the space in our brains. We don't even have the space on a graph to be able to plot everyone's lived experience. So other than a subjective conversation, which you have to have one-on-one with everybody, there's no such thing as lived experience being helpful. It's like asking a million people how they feel today. Some will say, I feel good. Some will say, I feel bad. Some will say, I feel tired. It doesn't help even to a marketer, because unless you're doing that one-on-one and listening to every moaning, whining, crying, unhappy, bleating person on Twitter, you're never going to know where to take your brand anyway, because everyone is different. Everyone's experience is different.
You see, I completely disagree with you, because that's why you're seeing people like Jeff Bezos putting so much money into listening tools that are literally curating and individualizing that experience that the one person has. So they care about, when John wakes up, what kind of coffee is he drinking? When he steps out of his house, what does he see? Which route does he take to work? And the companies that are putting more money into listening to the individual customer are the ones that are seeing really great rewards in terms of their share price, in terms of their growth. So the market is moving into a place where we care about the one person. It's no longer about a group. You don't group people. You care about the one person. And then there's certain things you can use to kind of validate that experience in a commercial sense. So it is if Cindy's stepping out of her house and what she sees are, I don't know, Ferraris. And this makes her think of going to a high-end store to buy whatever. Those are all little touch points that marketers use to say, how do I advertise to this person in those moments, so that I can actually get them to go to those places that they're being influenced about by seeing these little triggers in society. So it's not necessarily about, are you sad or are you happy? It is, what are you seeing around you, and how does that make you feel in the sense of what you want to do next? What is the call to action when you see something? What is it driving you to do? And that's what we mean by lived experience. So you can take things like your LSM and all of those things, and we're actually taking.
I don't disagree with any of that. In fact, I think you make way more sense than most of the marketers I've ever spoken to. When it comes down to it, it's not about demographics. It's not about how much you have, whether you've got a microwave, because that's how they measure that stuff, and it's nonsense. It's like it's more important to have people's psychographics, but that's hard to plot if you're trying to, because remember, you are marketing still to people, and if everybody is so different, unless they're opting in to the machine that's listening to them, and if they're not opting in, then that's the same as that call I was talking about from Telcom that I get twice a day. Then it's going to put you off and it's going to annoy you. And frankly, do I want a bunch of marketers knowing me that well? Probably not. I mean, Simpiwe, you're smiling. What do you think?
I want to ask Lebo when she talks about like the lived experience, because it feels like you kind of generalizing an experience. You know, we all wake up in the morning, you either take a taxi or you get into a car, and then we look at those different touch points, and with that it's like you guys then will kind of tell a story that feels personalized. So when I hear it, I'm like, oh, you're talking to me. And then when Gareth hears it's like, this is definitely a message for me, but it's very generalized, like this lived experience. It's a very big umbrella, and then everybody hears it, kind of hears different
it's also
things.
it's become a catchphrase. I think maybe that's what Carl and I are rebelling against, is not the idea of marketing to the individual, which is powerful. But it's this idea that lived experience gets dropped into the conversation, and we're meant to take that as seriously as we take science or as we take research.
Look, if you're going to have a conversation, for example, about activism, etc., I think people do use the term lived experience a little bit recklessly, right? But for me as a marketer, and the way I see the word, it makes complete sense, because it is about personalizing the customer's experience. It's not emotional to me. It's not about me caring about how you really feel or like your life problems. I don't really care unless there is a way I can help the brands I work with build a relationship with you, achieve their objectives. Honestly, it's commercial. It's a commercial thing. And the catchphrases matter because all of us have different understandings, right? So when we speak about things, we do need certain words that allow us to come to some form of understanding or to start some kind of conversation. So we might not always get it right, but I think it's important for us to just have some of those things so that they can guide us through a conversation.
I love Parallel Parking's comment here. Simpiwe's eyes tell single thing that she's thinking about. It's so funny. She cannot hide a thought. Yeah. Well, it's one of the reasons we like Simpiwe to test stuff for us. All right, we've got lots of other things to get to this morning, and I did want to quickly refer, since we're talking about marketing, to something else that Lebo wanted to bring into the conversation, and it is this. I'm just going to put it up on the screen, and we'll explain what it is in a second. But this is a pair of Balenciaga shoes.
What?
And they look like dirty, screwed up, messed up, rubbish dump shoes. They got bits of paint, they got mud, they got filth. The laces are gone on the one. And
whoa,
so it's an actual ad from Balenciaga, and there's someone who tweeted here and said, Balenciaga releasing a new pair of shoes. I have to assume that they're just trolling people at this point. What do you think's going on there, Lebo? You found this. What is happening here?
Unpopular opinion, but what Balenciaga is doing is, I think, firstly, testing the market, testing how people see the world and what they're willing to spend their money on. How valuable is your social validation to you, and how far will you go to validate yourself socially and show yourself in a different kind of social standing? But also, funnily enough, in a noisy world, we're living in a noisy world, right? I mean, there's so much advertising, there's so much brand messaging, there's a whole lot going on. And I think a lot of brands are trying to find ways to truly stand out. And not only that, but to get people online to generate the conversations that they want people to have about their products. Because if you look at different trends and you see how brands have been growing in the past 5 years, the brands that get people to talk about them are the ones who sell more and grow brand more than the brands who say, this is who we are, here are our billboards, come to our fashion show. It's really all about what people are saying about you. So a campaign like this has that shock horror effect that gets people to speak about you. Whether it's negative or positive brand sentiment, it doesn't matter.
Do you think there are people dumb enough to buy these shoes?
Absolutely. It makes a big statement. This is a moment in history. And if you're somebody who cares about this and you want to say, I participated in this moment, you're going to buy the shoe. I would buy it just for the sake of that. I would buy it.
I'm going to say this is why people hate marketers. I'm going to say this is precisely the example of why people hate marketers and why advertising doesn't work as well as it did before. Because when you look at that, that's obviously shit, and they're playing with you. This is maybe a way for marketers to separate the dumb from the clever, or to separate the people who will do anything for attention from the people who won't. But I mean, Simpiwe, please help me with this, because I'm not seeing what Lebo's seeing here, and I feel like I'm missing something.
No, Lebo, I don't know what you're seeing. Maybe you seeing a pair of shoes that look all sorts of gorgeous, but I'm just like, this is 5 2 quarter to being looking like a hobo, and it's almost like romanticizing this poverty look. But oh no, it cost me, 20,000. It goes back to the chat that we're having yesterday about like this Gucci and Adidas umbrella that's not waterproof. It's like, wait, what? And then you're spending so much money on this thing just for looks. No, I don't understand that. And also, what happened to just looking decent? I'm all for brands, releasing a new range every season that's different, that's out there. We had couture, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. It's a bit wild, but it still looks decent. Those shoes is just hobo. It screams hobo. And then you want me to leave the house imagine me walking into a meeting and I was like, hi, Gareth, I'm Simpiwe and I'm here for a job. And then he looks at my shoes and he's like, Chief, it doesn't look like you can afford yourself right now. What? No. When did we get here?
Or even worse. Simpiwe, I hate to say it, but you sound like an old traditional person there. But I will say this, and I'm not criticizing you because I'm the same. But I will say this.
Those shoes have holes.
Maybe it's also really insulting because I think that rich people who would wear a pair of shoes like that are kind of thumbing their noses at the poor. It's like when you see the Met Gala and all of these people are walking around in these fancy outfits that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but the staff have to wear their masks and wear uniforms and hang in the background. It's like those people who buy a bottle of 10,000 Rand champagne and spray it over all the people who don't have the 10,000 Rand champagne. It's like you're thumbing your nose at people. You're making fun of the poor. You're saying, I'm rich, and we're saying, F you. Is there a part of that to it?
Look, I think it's up to interpretation, right? And different things will mean different things to people. So a lot of the time what people don't understand about fashion is it's supposed to make a statement. And that statement isn't a fixed one. So people are supposed to feel something and have something to say about what they're seeing. It's not about whether the fashion is wrong or right. It's about the fact that it exists and people are talking about it. And I think Balenciaga as a brand is the kind of brand that wants to incorporate street culture with high-end fashion. That's what they said they do. And that's why I'm saying I would buy the shoes, but I wouldn't wear them. I just put them there to say there was a time in history when this happened. It would be a collector's item. It wouldn't be something I wear. And so I think we're all different. And also, Simpiwe was talking about being decent and et cetera, but what does that mean? Because decency is different to different people. And so, and even the whole poverty thing is, so what? We can't, Yeezys have holes. They all these clothes that used to be uncool back in the day, the ripped jerseys with the holes, they also look like hobo jerseys, but now they're very cool. Why weren't people upset when that was happening? So I appreciate the fact that it started a conversation that we should be having, not just about fashion, but about wealth and people.
This isn't new though, because in art, there are people who will they'll put a stain of like urine, of piss on the wall, and they'll say, well, we're going to sell this for $100,000, and some idiot will buy it.
But why are we that reactive as well? Like, it's a conversation I was having with somebody on another podcast, and they were saying to me, Twitter's so toxic, people are mean. And I said, but you're the one who's dialing into the toxic conversations as well. You don't need to, right? So if you really think what Balenciaga is doing is so terrible, why not just ignore it? Because we are making them relevant. They've only made 100 pairs of the shoe, and it's already sold out on pre-order. They have not actually manufactured the shoes. So we validated the stuff that they've done, this nonsense product that they've made. We've made it have higher value. In fact, that's why I buy it as a collector's item, because I know 10 years from now, I could sell it for so much more. So we also as people need to be responsible and say, what do we give our attention to? Who are we making relevant? And then why are we upset when they actually reap the rewards of the relevance we give them?
Fair enough.
How I see
fair enough. Look, I mean, I don't, I saw a little clip on, I think it was on Instagram, of the Balenciaga fashion show. It came up in my feed just because it was Obviously, it was ridiculous. I don't follow fashion, but this came up because it was in a humor category where they've got these people covered head to toe in like spandex or whatever. You can't even see their faces, and they're walking like they're mechanical almost. And it's the ugliest clothing, and it's the ugliest fashion show, and everyone in the audience is like pretending this is perfectly normal. I've never met a more stupid group of people, and I use that word reservedly for most situations, than the fashion people who sit in the front rows at these shows and pretend this is a terribly serious thing. There may well be a market for this, and I don't disagree with you, Lebo. You're the expert in this, and I'm happy for you to be putting me and Simpiwe in our place when we're wrong. But I think watching that, it's almost like a parody. Like, you do have to again refer to the tweet that you sent us, and I have to agree with the guy who said this. You have to assume that they're just trolling at this point. There's a bit of that too going on, right?
There is a bit of that, because that's how you create that shock and horror effect, right? That's how it works. That's why you find that the people who are the most relevant on Twitter are the ones who say the stupidest things a lot of the time, because that's how you get people to react. So you do have to troll people if you want them to react to something. That's how it works.
I don't disagree at all on that, and I think that this is fascinating. I mean, listen. We're talking about it now. So whether we think it's ridiculous or we think it's hugely important, the fact is, like, you brought this to the conversation, and I'm glad you did. And the comment section is on fire. People arguing, fighting with each other. I mean, Pakamani says, Balenciaga is simply starting conversations and, in my opinion, gathering insights and validating whatever hypothesis they build around these new designs. Interesting point of view. Jake says, you won't be able to ignore Balenciaga because of their stature. Huge corporations have the power to dictate how markets work. Smaller retailers will follow suit.
Yes, absolutely.
That's my issue. That's my issue right there. It's one thing that there's a pair of shoes or 100 pairs of shoes that cost 100,000 rand that you're not going to see all day, every day. Next minute, the smaller retailers, they're also getting lookalikes and, the knockoffs. And before you know it, everybody is looking like a hobo. And we've normalized that. And it's like, wait, no, why are we normalizing the fact that you're arriving to work with holes in your shoes? Like, that's what I mean about looking decent. Like, wait.
Can I throw a spanner in the works? Can I throw a spanner in the works? Yeah. And this is honestly coming from a place of privilege. I can't say that I was ever poor and I took taxis, whatever. I grew up privileged, so I'm grateful for that. But in engaging with different kinds of people, I've heard people say, starting work, so going into the workforce as a young South African is really difficult because we have to take out credit just to get clothes that look a certain way, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now we're saying that the poor aesthetic is unacceptable and it's not something we should be seeing. But at the same time, we're saying, but the poor have so much pressure on them to show up in ways they can't afford. So why don't we normalize just showing up in any way that you can? Because we're supporting poverty or whatever.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Like, we're normalizing, a poor look, but I don't see it that way. I see it almost as mocking. It's like, I think we're making fun of someone who actually has shoes that look like that, and those are their only shoes. And for Balenciaga and for the Kardashians and for a whole lot of other assholes in LA that are trying to they're gonna hide under what you've just said. I don't think that's what you believe, but it's an interesting point. I think they're gonna hide under that, saying, "Oh no, we're just trying to normalize the poor look or whatever." It's so patronizing. Poor people aren't watching the Balenciaga fashion show, and if they are, they're probably looking at that going, "Those people do not know what shoes like that have been through to look like that." Yeah. I do. I've just thrown away my last pair because I can't wear them anymore. They are ruined. And I just think it's like a little bit tasteless. It's like rubbing someone's nose in their own poverty. And I don't think that that's an element of marketing or class or kindness or, trying to normalize anything. I think it's actually just cruel. I think it's very, very mean.
And you see, Gareth, what you just spoke about there, talking about how the poor person would see it, is that lived experience thing I was talking about. So it's important for us to understand how other people live so that we understand when we're designing products and creating brands that they actually make sense and they're not offensive and they're not, leading society in a way that we shouldn't be going. Because what people don't understand is that brands also create the moral consciousness of society. We also play a part in that, right? So how brass are we about poverty? How do we engage with others? What is the acceptable standard? What are we seeing online, offline, on billboards, on TV that's validating our behavior? And that's a role that marketers play.
This is why I'm thrilled to have you on the show this morning. And I can't believe it's taken us this long to get you on here. But Sanela says, wow, good take, Gareth. Let's get Lebo on again. She's brilliant. Those shoes may auction for $100,000 in 2 decades. And can I just say again how gorgeous she is under that sun? So I think Sanela's in. There we go. Nice.
Lebo, I have a question for you, and it's a topic that's been spoken about on the show, but I'd like to get your take on it. Is what are your thoughts on brands that hop on these trends, like these lived experience trends, this whole body positivity trends? If that's not what they're about, you have I'm forgetting different brands that all stand for different things. Yes. And then Jiggy, now they all like, wow, woo, kumbaya, this is who we are. And you're like, but this is not you. What are your thoughts on that?
Do we believe them? Because sometimes that inauthenticity, I hear with Simpi, I'm with her on this too. It's like a lot of them just hop on the trend and you're like, I don't believe for a second you are into that stuff. You're just trying to get on the trend.
I think it's gross if it's done in a way that's not strategic. And I know a lot of the things that sound terrible, but literally I'm just coming from the commercial perspective of like business and how marketing fits into that. So I think it's gross if it's not done strategically because it means that they didn't think about it. So how does this tie into our company? How do we make it meaningful for what we stand for? Because I think that there is room in every company's strategy to stand for things that help others and to stand for causes that make sense. But you have to stand for it in a way that matters to you. You don't have to go full on in the way that everybody's going just because that's how they go into it. And sometimes maybe it's a braver decision to say, we are not educated enough or equipped enough to be part of this, but this is what we are doing as a brand, right? That's also helping other people, or that's also contributing to other movements that are making society a better place. So I think the people who aren't strategizing, who aren't saying, in what we offer, how do we make this make sense for what we're doing? And they're just saying, okay, GBV is a thing now, and they'll just hop onto any GBV trend and then put their logo there. I think that's disgusting. And I think it's actually making them lose customers, and I think it's giving them negative brand sentiment. But I think for the brands that are saying, we don't know, teach us, or let's have a conversation, I think they are heading in the right direction.
So one last question for you, Lebo, because we're on this trend. So Spa came out with an announcement the other day that they don't want people coming into their store wearing sleepwear because clearly people are going there in their dressing gowns and their slippers. Is this a trend, or is this just laziness?
I think laziness can also be a trend. and we're also seeing it in the fashion aesthetics of everything, right? So we are moving into the poorer aesthetic, and I think that can also be called a bit of a lazy aesthetic where, wearing baggy jeans and baggy clothes and just looking tired and haggard is a very cool thing to look like. So honestly, it's a real trend, especially among the TikTokers, that generation, Gen Z. They're all about just looking like I haven't bathed today, and that's what makes me cool.
Because many of them don't actually have jobs. That's why they have all day to make a TikTok video.
Exactly. That's a controversial statement, but anyway. So I think Spa could have done more with that instead of telling people not to come to their stores in sleepwear. And I think that at least my understanding of the Spa brand is that they have a Jewish older customer base. They're very loyal to that group. And seeing the older ladies who shop there, and it's an experience for them, they come dressed to the nines. And I think they're protecting those people. And they're a small audience and they're loyal customers, but I think the world is moving in a different direction. And if they want to embrace the diversity that's happening in the areas that they're in, they need to be more creative about how they address that. I think they've gone about it the wrong way.
All right. Well, I mean, listen, this is a fascinating area of conversation, and it's something where I think you've made a lot of points that people agree with here, and a lot of points that people are pushing back against. G Star wants to know, um, anyone seen Ricky Gervais's Netflix special? It just came out now. Ooh, are the woke trans activists freaking the fuck out? Well, we'll have to see. I must watch this, but I'm absolutely sure that he'll be pushing the boundaries, just like Dave Chappelle did, and. That, by the way, that guy who ran onto the stage when Dave Chappelle was performing at the Hollywood
Yeah.
Bowl, turns out he says he was triggered by one of Dave Chappelle's jokes because he's bisexual or whatever. He also said something around how Dave should run some of his material by people in those communities. I mean, clearly this guy doesn't understand how comedy works, because comedians don't go out and get their stuff approved like marketing people, and if this is what this guy thinks comedy is, maybe comedy's not for him. But I don't think Dave Chappelle has to run his material by anybody. He's going to take a chance. You shouldn't run onto the stage and expect not to be punched in the face. That's more the truth.
Well, I mean, Gareth, I agree with you as well, but we could also flip that onto the fashion brand conversation. Maybe you don't understand fashion, and maybe there are people who don't understand fashion. And if they understood it, they wouldn't need. You know what I mean?
Thank God we put you on the show this morning, because otherwise I wouldn't have even known how to spell Balenciaga.
but what I'm saying is every industry has its standards. Every industry has a way that it works, and those who are not fully invested in the industry won't understand why certain things are happening, and they will think it's stupid. Right. I don't necessarily enjoy comedy. I think it tends to be incredibly insensitive, but I also understand that you can't be a reactive human being. The power of the customer is in how they react. So you have to treat your reaction like gold.
I just want to throw this caution in. I want to throw this in and just say, like, if advertising had more humor in it, it might be more effective.
And I disagree.
But with that said, in terms of this guy attacking Chappelle, it's like, you've heard his material before, right? You kind of know like how he pushes the line. So for me, it's like, then you shouldn't have bought a ticket. Don't pitch up if you kind of know that
he bought a ticket so he could make it all about him.
And then you're gonna get mad.
His lived experience is more important than everyone who's paid money to come and watch Dave Chappelle make you laugh. And this is the point. Ultimately, those people are going to get punched in the face because they don't think about anyone else. It's all about me, my lived experience, my upset, my triggering, and Dave Chappelle and his security team are going to beat your ass. And that's probably what you deserve. So I'm with Dave Chappelle on this one. We got to move on. So I've got somebody on the line who is dialing in from New York, which, I mean, it's late at night there at the moment. But I needed to talk to this guy because he's come up with a trivia board game that will test your knowledge about the pandemic and lockdown. Because, people are always coming up with new games, new ideas. So I think it's perfect that we've got Lebo here as well to take a listen to this. But welcome, Matthew Toboroff. Nice to have you on, Matthew. How are you?
I'm doing great, Gareth. Thanks for having me.
Good. Nice to have you on all the way from New York. And thank you for staying up so late. I'm sorry that the time difference doesn't make it a little bit more pleasant for you. We're coming into the morning and you're only going into the deep depths of midnight, right?
No, I'm excited to be here. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So Matthew, tell me about Citizen Outbreak, because we've got a couple of screenshots of some of the things going on here. But this is on Kickstarter, right? And you decided you're going to invent a board game. We've all been through the most incredible 2.5 years almost, of being a human on planet Earth. It's been weird as hell. And we've got to have some kind of time capsule to be able to put all this into. One day we're going to laugh, hopefully. But there's lots of stuff that you could do to make a board game, to make a trivia game out of lockdown.
Well, there you go. And so, like everybody, I was doing a lot of chatting on my different platforms with different friends, different categories of interest. And with one group, I was, other than my fiance, probably spending more time than anybody, virtually, but going through every day, every hour, all the crazy stories and the crazy existence that was going on. And I stepped back and I said, there's a game here. And my buddy first thought I was joking, and then I did a little research into the category, and we both got very excited. You know, to your point about a time capsule, you know, part of the idea was that there was just so much flying at us on a nonstop basis. You know, these crazy headlines that were coming out, the unprecedented, bizarre, you know, scary, funny, crazy things. And it was like, it got to a point where we were so numb to it. It was just like we would be sending it like, what about this? What about, and you know, it took on a life of its own. So, you know, part of it was they're just gonna move on, because part of the fascination was, wait a second, yesterday this was the most unprecedented, craziest thing of our time, and then today, like, that doesn't exist anymore. And then that even happened on like an hourly basis, it seemed.
Right.
So there was this aspect of it, like, let's capture all this, so that one day everybody can get together, reflect, and relate, because human beings want to relate, they want to connect. You know, the other part of it, whether you were in, you know, New York City or Joburg or Pittsburgh or Paris, you know, everybody can relate about the toilet paper, the Purell, the, you know, the murder hornets, the crazy stuff. And, you know, that's good, because, you know, part of
you just said a couple of things that I had already forgotten about, that
right.
that, you know, we were all smiling and nodding our heads. But do you remember the toilet paper thing? Simpiwe and Lebo, do you remember when people were going into the shops and buying like as much toilet paper as they could fit in a trolley?
It makes sense.
Why toilet? I mean, if you look back now, we are so dumb as humans. We do ridiculous, silly things when we feel threatened. And that toilet paper thing was a big part of the beginning of lockdown. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about the game itself. So is it already up and running? Can people go on a Kickstarter and buy one?
So this, you know, part of what this is really fun. So my partner, Rudy, who's a buddy of mine for 25 years, he's got a great daughter. She's 13. We gave her a concept of what we wanted. She did the artwork, which we love. So yeah, we've been manufacturing small runs of the game for promotional and research products. Yours is going to be on the way. We've been implementing, you know, gameplay, taking notes. There's two categories to the game. There's Follow the Science, which is trivia related to all things kind of public health, pandemic, more medicine, biology, and all things viral, which is all those crazy stories that may have streamed across your, you know, your chat group, your social media feed, your headline at one point or another. We have a couple of fun cards in there. The lockdown.
Why don't you ask us a few questions? This could be fun. Let's see. Between me, Lebo, and Simpiwe, how many of these we can actually get? Give us a question there, and let's go. Ask Simpiwe first. Let's go with her.
So I'm going to go with all things viral for you first. So in March 2020, as the pandemic started to wreak havoc around the globe, to calm the nerves of humanity, 25 self-isolating celebrities shared a video montage of themselves singing this classic song. What is the name of this song? Is it A, Let It Be, B, I'll Stand By You, C, We Are the Champions, or D, Imagine?
I feel like celebrities would sing We Are Champions. I think that's up the alley.
No.
No! What?
No, it was Imagine. It was Wonder Woman was one of them. What's her name?
You had.
I'm surprised
Jack
they didn't
Black
sing
had his
Heal
shirt
the
off.
World.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was Imagine.
Yeah, it was Imagine.
All right, give Lebo a question. Let's see what she's got here.
Okay, so in the we'll go to the Follow the Science. So what is Spikevax?
I have absolutely no idea. I'm not even going to lie.
What are the options?
A, an English heavy metal band made famous by a popular 1980s mockumentary. B, the process of mRNA COVID-19 vaccines releasing themselves into the human carrier. C, the brand name under which Moderna COVID-19 vaccine is sold. Or D, the official name given to the CDC's public outreach program created to encourage COVID-19 vaccination.
I'm just going to guess this. C.
Yes. Well, you did well.
Okay.
That was a hard one, girl.
So
Well done.
That's part of the game. So I mean, just there is no great messenger in this whole thing because people did get so dug into different positions and whatever. So we wanted to have a lot of content in here that could run the gamut, right? Because there is stuff in here that's quick and easy that might not necessarily relate to me, but the 15-year-old, 16-year-old TikToker will love it and laugh because it was a viral moment. Then there's stuff that'll be a little bit more involved in terms of, naming the brand name of the Moderna vaccine when it came out.
I'm just going to put this back up on the screen here. On the popular Netflix docuseries Tiger King, remember that? What was the name of Joe Exotic's chief nemesis? Was it A, Ned Flanders, who's, it's a well-known name, B, Janie Bilkins, C, Carol Baskin, or D, Deborah Burks? Any guesses?
So I know it's a woman, and I know what she looks like. I think it's Carol.
That is correct. It is Carol Baskin. Am I right?
Bravo.
Yeah, all right. There we go. Thank God for that. It's such, I mean, I really think we could have a lot of fun with this. So you've got all kinds of other categories here as well. You've got booster.
Well, so the booster, so if you pick a booster card, you get 2 extra turns. And if you pick the dreaded lockdown card, you miss 2 turns.
Wow.
So it's a trivia game. You take turns asking each other questions and answers. There's 2 categories. You mentioned Kickstarter. We're launching on Kickstarter, which is this wonderful website. It's a marketplace that exists to give creative projects a way to get to market. And gaming, as I researched the category, this is where games like mine launch. And there's a big universe of interest for it. And it's a wonderful thing because it's all about promoting community, the importance of community, self-expression, and entrepreneurialism, which are 3 tenets that me and my partner really are champions of, hopefully. So
Freedom Fighter says, has this game been ... fact checked? Because that was a big part of lockdown. So you've obviously fact checked this, haven't you?
Yeah. So the info that's in here has been fact checked. We've sourced it from, there's questions like spike facts, if you want to call that something that needs to be fact checked. It's been sourced properly. This isn't me trying to put my thumb on any scale. This is very much, there's like I said, so there's different editions of the game. There's the standard Kickstarter edition, which has 125 questions in each category. Then you have the Hoarder Pack edition, which is 50 extra questions. And then you have the Stockpile edition, which is 100 extra trivia questions. So there's a lot of content.
So can we go and buy it right now? If you want to go onto Kickstarter and you want to play this game, you can go and buy it right now.
Well, you're going to get yours soon in the mail. You're not going to have to go buy one, Gareth. But this is going to be launching on Kickstarter. We're planning to do this hopefully within the next month. And people can go on Kickstarter. Like I said, Kickstarter, because of the basic, that's this universe really, it's the natural launching pad for a game like this. That I want to do it exclusively there first. And then we will have, everybody will be able to. But the game is built, as I showed you, and you'll see the game has been manufactured. We've been improving it, fact-checking as much as we can, making sure that we're not being irresponsible in what we put out there, and that we're achieving the stated mission. And I can say happily, watching you 3 laugh and smile and kind of think through and remember that's what we're doing. And that's what we're hoping to provide, a fun way to connect and relate through all these shared experiences through one of the craziest, I don't know, during my lifetime.
Periods of human history. Listen, I love it, Matthew, and I'm just blown away by how little I actually remember. And then suddenly it all comes back to me. I mean, it's only 2.5 years ago, but it feels like ages ago.
Yeah,
and there's so much stuff we've forgotten. So if you really want to relive the ups and downs of the last 2.5 years, this is a great game to play. It's called Citizen Outbreak. You can find out more on citizenoutbreak.com. And our guest this morning, Matthew Toboroff, it's great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Gareth, thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Matthew. You too. I hope you get some sleep. It is like 1 a.m. in New York or something. So nice to have him on the show this morning. Hey, Lebo, this is fun, right? I mean, we we may go into more lockdowns in the future. We'll need some games to play.
True. I can't wait. I actually want to buy the game. It's made me feel smarter than I am because my guesses have been right. So I want to play it and test it out with some people.
We should maybe.
I'm just ready to say, I'm ready to use that. In my time, there was lockdown. In my time, I'm ready.
One day we are going to be the old people who sit. In my time, there would be Balenciaga shoes that they tried to sell us. But I think we should maybe do. We should do a South African version where we can have Cyril looking for his iPad. We can have the Woolworths chickens, the open toe shoes. You remember? We can have Zwelim Kize stealing money with digital vibes. We can have all of that stuff.
That would be fun. That would be fun. I think we need a game like that.
Yeah, we actually just need a section in that game. Corruption,
PPE scandals. That's what we need.
And then we just test you on how well are you equipped with corruption in SA, and boom, it's a bestseller.
That's exactly right. Oh my God. All right. Well, we got a couple of seconds left of some other things. I just want to throw some of the stuff that Simpiwe wanted to bring in here. We were talking the other day about Wordle and what a big deal Wordle is. Are people still playing Wordle? Because I fell off that cart a long while ago. I played for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe nonstop. And then I just lost interest and I haven't been on it since. Are people still playing it?
I have no idea. I know I've given up, and everybody else that I've roped in has also been like, oh, dog, I missed one day and I never came back. It was just one of those things. And then I occasionally see one or two people tweet and I'm like, I got the word of the day. And I don't even care anymore. I'm like, oh, that's cute. Bye. So, I don't know. Like, Lebo, were you ever into Wordle? Were you obsessed? Did you get into this cult of finding the word for the day and then boom, shaka, boom, it's done?
No, so I mean, I've been observing. I've read about Wordle and its origins and why it's such a big deal, but I never actually hopped onto the trend, just because I'm all trended out. I need some time. I need a break. I literally just want to be a person who can take walks and look at leaves and just enjoy life for what it is. Right. So I've literally been trying to disconnect from a lot of these things. I'll inform myself, but I don't participate.
Okay.
I'm afraid I'm not a great example either.
Out.
Let me just throw this in here quickly, because this is what some people say social media has come to. And we talk about influencers, which Lebo brought up earlier. I got this in the email.
Oh my goodness.
Girls be like, I know, look at this girl. Girls be like, just woke up with messy hair and no makeup. You got to love the skin you're in. # natural. And there's this hideous looking woman who looks like she's been photoshopped to death and filtered to death. And ain't that the truth? I mean, Lebo, there's a lot of fake bullshit going on out there, right?
Look, Gareth, and I love tying things together, because I think as people, we don't understand how connected society is and how we all play a part in what we see. So we were speaking about lies earlier on, and we were saying, should we be telling people the truth or should we be lying about certain things, And I think when we see pictures like this of women saying, I just woke up, this is how I woke up, but they look literally like they put on makeup and they tried so hard, is validating the idea that we all know things aren't what they seem to be, but we wish they were, so we will accept what we are being shown. And it's the same with people lying to you about other things. You know the truth, but you want it to be something else. So you support the thing that says, perhaps it could be that could be the truth. And then you go on this really weird wormhole of chasing an unrealistic thing that will never be you. You start buying makeup, you start doing all these things, you start waking up early so you can look like you woke up like this, when we all know we don't wake up like that. But we'd rather support the content that says, I woke up like this, even though nobody does. So for me, it's a great, I think social media, what it does is it shows us how people really are. And we've never had a lens that has been so, I think, clear and so honest about, but this is what you guys actually like. You guys say this, but this is what you buy, Right. And so social media is really showing us who we are. It's a mirror.
That's exactly right. So you can't hate on it because actually that is a reflection of humanity. That's where we are at the moment. And for many people, it is about the truth. And for many people, it's the lies. Again, it's going to boil down to how they feel about the world and how the world feels about them. And I'm going to say the words lived experience, whether you like them or not.
The word of the day is lived experience.
Well, I'll tell you what, Lebo, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the show this morning. And I loved some of your points of view here. I think you've said a lot of things that people are going to be thinking about for the next few days. And it's great to have you on. And I hope we see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Siphiwe, Gareth. I had so much fun. Early mornings are not my thing, but this was worth it. So thank you for having me. And I hope I'll be back.
It takes a brave human being to get up at 5 in the morning in the middle of winter and to join us on the show while it's still dark, especially when there's the threat of load shedding just on the horizon. So I appreciate it very much. Nice to see you. And thanks very much, Lebo. We'll get you on soon.
Cool. Thank you.
If you want to find out more about Lebo, we will post all of her details and all of her links on cliffcentral.com. So you can go and follow her and you can check out what she's doing. Because, I mean, there's someone who's got lots to say and some very interesting points of view. And she's got her own podcast too. So it's always good to have other fellow podcasters on as we try to expand the whole world of podcasting and try to get more and more people into it. One last thing quickly. I think maybe some people are still thinking about Wordle. Here's a comment from Carl. He says, I still play Wordle every day as my eyes open. It's the first thing Carl does every morning. Okay.
Nice,
See?
Carl. Shout out to you. Like,
he's the last one.
Yeah, like tell us the day you give up, Carl. Then we know it's dead. Like the day you are like, I'm over this.
Yeah,
we have to hop onto a new trend.
When Carl stops, then we all have officially finished. All right, I love this. Thanks, everybody. We will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. bright and early. Have an excellent Wednesday and enjoy the rest of your day. Ciao. Bye-bye.